Inside the deep-sea recovery of a V-22 Osprey, the crash, the secrets, and the salvage mission. The ocean doesn't give back what it takes easily. When a bell-bowing V-22 Osprey slammed into the cold waters off the coast of Japan, it wasn't just an aircraft lost. It was classified technology, human lives, and hard military lessons sinking fast. What followed was not a simple clean-up job. It was a high-stakes recovery operation where time, depth and secrecy all worked against the clock. And if you think aircraft recovery is routine, stay with me, because this story goes far deeper than twisted metal on the seabed. Why this crash mattered immediately. The V-22 Osprey is not a regular aircraft. It's a hybrid beast, part helicopter, part airplane, designed to tilt its rotors mid-flight and rewrite the rules of vertical lift. That complexity is exactly why the crash triggered alarm bells across military commands. When an aircraft like this goes down, investigators aren't just asking what failed. They're asking what must never fall into the wrong hands. Unlike the battlefields of World War II, where wreckage often stayed where it fell, modern military crashes ignite an instant recovery race. The Osprey carries advanced flight control systems, composite structures and sensitive avionics. Leaving that technology underwater was not an option. Salvage wasn't a choice. It was a mission. The unforgiving reality of deep-sea recovery, well, it's something few can truly imagine. Salvaging an aircraft from the ocean is nothing like pulling wreckage from land. Salt water, for instance, accelerates corrosion within mere hours. Hydraulic systems, they contaminate fast. Data recorders, too, degrade quickly. And every passing day turns valuable evidence into, well, unreadable noise. The crash site off Japan presented additional challenges: strong currents, unpredictable weather, and a depth that ruled out simple diver operations. This meant relying on remotely operated vehicles, heavy lift ships, and, of course, precision planning. Every move had to be deliberate, because just one wrong lift could destroy what investigators needed most. In World War II, wrecked aircraft were often abandoned or stripped for parts. Today, though, every bolt tells a story. Every fracture line matters. Securing the site before the salvage. Now, that was absolutely essential. Before recovery even began, the area had to be locked down. This wasn't just about safety, you see. It was about control. Debris fields can stretch wide, and sensitive components don't always fall together. Engines, rotors, fuselage sections, each sinks differently. The very first priority was mapping the wreckage. Sonar scans identified major sections. Remotely operated vehicles confirmed locations and conditions. Only then could planners decide what to lift first. This step is critical, because lifting the wrong component too early can collapse evidence patterns investigators rely on. This is where, modern recovery differs sharply from the chaos of World War II crash sites. Today, salvage is forensic. Lifting a machine built to defy gravity. The V-22 is not built to be lifted from the ocean floor. Its tilt-rotor design creates awkward weight distributions once broken apart. Wings aren't wings anymore. Rotors aren't balanced. Composite materials behave unpredictably after impact. Salvage crews had to rig custom lift points, often underwater, using remotely operated arms. Sections were raised slowly to avoid stress fractures. Each piece was stabilized, secured, and transferred to recovery vessels like fragile evidence rather than scrap metal. This is slow work, painfully slow, but rushing risks losing the truth. So, what investigators were really looking for? Well, it's a bit different from what most folks might expect. You see, while the public often views recovery as a kind of closure, for investigators it's really just the beginning. The goal wasn't to rebuild the aircraft, not at all. It was, in fact, to understand it. Flight control systems, for instance, were a top priority. The Osprey, relies quite heavily on software to manage its transition from vertical to forward flight. Any anomaly in that area could frankly explain a sudden loss of control. And of course, gearboxes, rotor hubs and actuators were all examined closely for any signs of mechanical failure or design stress. Data recorders, well, they were absolutely critical. Unlike the simpler instruments found in World War II aircraft, modern recorders capture massive streams of information. We're talking about speed, angle, pilot inputs, and of course, system warnings. If these recorders are recovered intact, they can actually replay the final seconds, frame by frame. There's, a human cost behind all this machinery. It's impossible to talk about recovery without acknowledging why it truly matters beyond the technology. Crew members were lost. Families were waiting. Answers were, without question, owed. Recovery operations also aim to locate remains and personal effects. This is always handled with care, dignity, and strict protocol. Salvage teams are trained not just as engineers, but as custodians of memory. Every recovered item, well, it carries weight. World War II taught militaries the cost of unanswered losses. Modern recovery missions are, really shaped by that legacy. Lessons written in steel and salt. Every crash investigation feeds back into design, training and procedure. The Osprey has faced scrutiny before, and each incident adds another hard chapter to its operational history. Salvage ensures those lessons are based on fact, not speculation. Structural failures lead to reinforcements. Software faults trigger updates. Training manuals change. Pilots adapt. This is, quite simply, how modern military aviation survives its own mistakes. In World War II, lessons were often learned through sheer attrition. And today, they're extracted from wreckage at the bottom of the sea. You might wonder why a modern aircraft recovery fits this channel. Why this story belongs on 0 Hour World War II. Because, you see, the mindset was born in World War II. The urgency to recover technology. The drive to learn from failure. And the understanding that air power shapes history. This salvage operation wasn't just about a crash near Japan. No, it was about protecting knowledge, honouring loss and refining the machines that define modern warfare. The battlefield may have changed, but honestly, the stakes haven't. Final thoughts from the deep. The ocean tried to keep the V-22 Osprey. It failed. Piece by piece, the aircraft came back to the surface, carrying answers with it. This wasn't spectacle. It was discipline, precision, and a quiet reminder that even the most advanced machines are only as strong as what we learn when they fall. If stories like this matter to you, where history, technology and hard truth collide, then you're in the right place. Subscribe to 0 Hour World War II. Share this story and keep digging with us, because the real history is always deeper than it looks.